Hello, OMSD students. Mr. Silva here. This time with a video on how to hold your instrument and then also how to produce a sound on your instrument. So with the saxophone, we start with the neck strap. At this point, we've already learned how to put the instrument together, but we're gonna just briefly talk about how to adjust the neck strap and how to position it in the most optimal place for the instrument just to come right up to your lips. So the neck strap has this little buckle on it, and what you do on that is either you grip it from the side or on the top like this and the bottom, and you slide it up and down on the strappy part of the neck strap. And so what that does is it shortens it or it lengthens it. Now, when we connect it to the saxophone, we connect the hook to the eyelet, and what we want to do is position the buckle and also adjust the length of the neck strap so that the instrument comes right up to your lips. Okay, so if I have it too high, then the saxophone comes up like this, close to my nose, and then I'm raising my chin to play, and that makes things a little bit difficult. If I have it too low, then it comes down to my neck, and then I'm doing this, and that puts my neck in a really bad position, right? So we don't want to hurt ourselves when we're playing the saxophone. So we're going to get this thing in a position where when I go to put my instrument up, it just comes right up to my lips, like that. So I want to show you from the side. All right. Now, as far as holding your saxophone, there's two ways of doing it. You can actually hold the saxophone in front of your body while you're sitting down and standing up. And, you might need to make some adjustments to your neck while it's in front of your body and even your mouthpiece. Now, the adjustments I'm talking about have to do with how your head is positioned when you're playing. So when we're playing, we want to make sure that our head is just straight up on our shoulders, not twisted off to the side, not down, not back, or any other weird position. So we want that saxophone right in front like this and straight. Now, you may find that the saxophone just feels better if we play it off to the side. And so this is a more old school traditional way of doing it. So you might see saxophone players in a jazz ensemble playing their saxophones off to the side or here. Now, for those that play or learn how to play tenor saxophone, which is a larger instrument, it's going to be easier to play it off to the side just because the instrument's longer down here by the bow, and it's harder to play it like this comfortably because your hand is going to be actually further down here, right? And your legs are just going to get in the way. So you can play it like this. Now, if you're playing off to the side, then you're going to want to make tiny adjustments to your neck and your saxophone, neck on the saxophone and the mouthpiece, so that your head is straight on your body, even though the instrument's off to the side. So I want you to notice I made an adjustment to the neck, but I'll let my mouthpiece alone. And now my head is like, tilting this way. So I want to change the angle of the mouthpiece so that my head is straight. And you'll notice the saxophone is slanted, but my head is straighter, right? All right, let's talk about the fingers and where those things go. Okay, on the saxophone, we have many different keys, and we're going to talk about the main ones here in the upper area of the saxophone, which is controlled by the left hand, just like it was on the song flute. And we have keys with these little pearl touches on them. And then we have some keys that don't have pearl touches. And so we're going to talk about the main pearl touches and what we do with our main three fingers in the left hand and even the right hand. So the main three fingers, they're going to be doing a lot of the work are, the index finger, middle finger, and the ring finger. Now, on all saxophones, we have the three main key touches and keys where those fingers are going to go. Now, each saxophone is slightly different, but they all pretty much do the same. Now, saxophones have this key up in the top that you'll learn about later, and you can see that is controlling a key up here. And this key may or may not have a pearl like this on it. So this is where sometimes some of that confusion comes into play, because your teacher will tell you put your first finger on the first key touch, and you might be doing this. So if you have a pearl up here way at the top, and it's that first one up at the top, skip that one and go to the second one. Okay, another way to know whether you have your first finger in the right spot is to look for that tiny little key right over here that may or may not have a pearl on it. So you can see my fingers hovering over it right now. And that little tiny key is in between this pearl touch and the second one, right? So the little key here, that little pearl touch, you're going to go above that, and that's where your first finger goes. So it goes above the little tiny one. Then your second finger goes below the tiny one. And then your third finger goes below the second. Okay, and then pinky is going to control all of these keys over here, and you'll learn about those later. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the left hand, though, when we hold our instrument up here, we want to be really careful with these palm keys in this area. Especially at the beginning stage, it's going to be one of these areas where you're going to be bumping into these keys, and you just have to be aware that for the time being, we're not going to be playing these. You'll learn about these later, and that we have to keep ourselves from pushing these open. So hand position is going to be really important in the left hand. So we're going to keep our hands nice and wide, like we're making a giant C with our hands, big old shape like this, right? Hopefully that's a C on this end. And when we move our fingers, we're going to move from the knuckles down. So the knuckles are here, right? Up at the top. So we're going to avoid doing this or doing too much of this, right? Where our hand is like just going crazy and moving too much. So I'm going to show you the motion that I use when I play the saxophone. It's this. So it's kind of like I'm squeezing something, like a stress ball, but not crushing it, right? Just a little squeeze. That's it. And that's as much motion that you're going to need on the saxophone. Now, when you learn your first note, which should be a B on your instrument, it may be different, but in most cases it's a B. You're going to push that key closed, right, from your knuckle. And then your other fingers are just going to lay on top of the pearls here, but not push down. So you're going to keep those just touching. And that's it. So, you're going to play your B like this by just pushing it down. And that's simple. Now remember, we're keeping our hands clear of these keys. And then for the thumb's going to go on this thumb rest, and it's going to lay there. So we're never going to raise this up like this at all. Okay, now my thumb is positioned in a way where most of it is on the black thumb rest, and then the tip of my thumb is touching this key right here, which is what we call the octave key. And when you guys start out, you're not going to be using that until maybe about your fourth note in. But the way we play that is that we just kind of rock into it, and we just nudge it. And that's how that's played. All right, so when I'm playing my saxophone, I'm not doing this. Or I'm not doing this. Okay, I'm doing this. Okay, for the right hand, the thumb is going to go under the thumb hook. So there's a thumb hook right here. Thumb goes there, and then my three main fingers go on the pearls. So index finger, pointer finger goes on the top one, and then middle finger goes on the second, and then index finger goes on the third. Pinky will lay on these keys. You can lay on the first one for now, and just like with the left hand, we're going to move from the knuckles down on this and not go out like this, right? And definitely not play like this or like that, right? So everything has to be touching, while you're playing other notes. So if I'm playing the B up in the top, pushing that down, these are touching down here, these are touching there, okay? And then pinky's kind of hovering, all right? Now another set of keys that we want to watch out for are the side keys here, which are played with this part of your right hand. And so we want to be careful that we're just not, we're not opening these up for now. You'll learn about these later and how and when to play those. But if these are being bumped into, then your instrument's going to sound funny, and you're going to be trying to figure out why it's not working. So just be aware of your hands. And again, we're keeping our hands nice and big and wide like this, kind of a C shape for both hands, right? And so as far as holding your instrument, that's pretty much it. It should look like this. All right, how to make a sound on your saxophone. This is actually pretty simple. You're going to be forming your lips in a kind of an O shape, and you're going to be blowing air into the mouthpiece to get that reed to vibrate. So let's talk about how to form our lips. Now, our lower lip's going to go over our bottom teeth just a little bit, and so our lip is going to serve as a pillow or a cushion between the teeth and the reed, right? And so this cushion needs to be nice and soft like a pillow and fluffy. So we don't want it super rigid and tight like this. We want it to be just a cushion because we need that reed to vibrate as much as possible. And so the way we're going to go about doing this is we're going to make a sound that sounds like this, weh. And when I go weh, you'll notice that my bottom lip goes over my bottom teeth, weh. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring the corners of our lips in by making a two sound. So it's a weh and then two. And this is kind of the shape that we want. That's it, very simple. And so we're using a lot of these smile muscles around our face here in our lips. And, we're going to avoid puffing our cheeks when we play. So weh, two. And we're going to hold it in place. And so we're not going to use a whole lot of muscle, but the muscles that we do use, we need to keep them in their place, right? So we can't let them move around too much. Okay, so on the mouthpiece, this is how this looks. Weh. Okay, so I got the weh part, and then I'm going to put the tip of the mouthpiece on my lip. And I'm only using a little bit of the mouthpiece, just the tip of it. Not the whole thing. I'm not going to put that much in, just about maybe a little bit over 1/4 of an inch. So wet. Okay. Now, before you get to the two part, you're going to lay your top teeth, right, on top of the mouthpiece. So wet, like that. But we're just laying it down. We're not biting, so it's not, right? And then now we're going to do the two. So wet, two. And that's how that, the lips are shaped for that mouth, for the mouthpiece, and then you're pretty much ready to go. So wet, two. All right, next stage is blowing some air into the instrument. Now, we're going to practice just blowing, a steady stream of air. So we're going to go wet, two, and then so wet, two. Now your air going into the instrument should be fast and steady. Now you're going to quickly find out that you actually need to blow quite a bit of air into the instrument to get that reed to vibrate. So this is going to take a little bit of practice and a little bit of trial and error. So we should have this. Okay, notice that my cheeks did not puff up. I'm using my smiling muscles to keep my lips around the mouthpiece and keep that O shape. Okay, very similar to like me talking to you like this, where I keep that, my lips pursed together, and I'm bringing those corners in, and I'm using that to keep my cheeks from puffing. All right, next thing is the just starting the sound with the air. Woodwind players, especially reed players like clarinet, saxophones, we start the sound with our tongue, right? So we're going to use the tip of your tongue, and we're going to use that tip of the tongue extremely light on the tip of the mouthpiece and the reed. So like right here is where we're going to place the tongue, and we're going to start the sound using our tongue. So it'll sound like this. So it has a little to it, right? And that gives our sound a very clean and crisp start. Now, to practice doing that, I'm going to have you do this for a little bit. And so you do your we two, get your mouthpiece set, and you're going to blow air, but not make a sound. But I want you to touch the tip of the reed and the mouthpiece, and just make an like airy two sounds, like two, 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 two. So we two. And I want you to get used to just using the tip of your tongue at that reed, okay? Now, this is something that we call articulating, and this is very similar to articulating when you speak. It involves, using our lips to form the beginnings of sounds that, would be, words or letters. And sometimes we also will use our tongue. In fact, we use our tongue a lot when we articulate to speak. And most of the time we are articulating at our teeth, right? So for all the various different sounds that we make on the consonants, and even like some of the vowel sounds, we may be using the shape of our lips or our tongues for those sounds to produce words. So it's just a simple. Now we're going to try that on the saxophone with a little bit more air and try to get some sound going. And that's pretty much it. So all of these things take some practice, and will take a little bit of time to get used to. But the trick here is to spend time every single day mastering each and every one of these little tiny things until you feel really comfortable with blowing into your instrument. So if you have any further questions, you can rewatch this video again. You can talk to your band teacher. You can refer to your Essential Elements book, and you can also search online and watch YouTube videos on how to produce a sound. There's a lot of information that you can access. Until then, enjoy playing your instrument, and good luck.